And again, the best teams in college football have depth that fill in, and the drop-off between player A and player B is minimal.
But that still could
depth is being tested right now, South Carolina. Steven Garcia dismissed, so it's Connor Shaw's turn. Marcus Lattimore done for the year with a knee injury. They're kind of now struggling to find an identity on offense as they go into a big road game against Arkansas.
Well, they are. They're not explosive on offense. And I think the move with Marcus Lattimore, the loss of him in the backfield, doesn't just affect your ability to run the football. It affects pass protection. It affects the passing game. One of the most undervalued players in all of college football as a running back as a receiver was Marcus Lattimore. And the guy who becomes forgotten about because you can't get him the football is Alshon Jeffrey. You have no proven commodity opposite of him. That puts even more pressure on Connor Shaw. This is a good defensive football team that's on the field an awful lot. Their front seven at South Carolina is in the top, I think, 3 to 4 in the conference. But they're on the field an awful lot.
The back four, though, Stephon Gilmore is a guy that I've never really been high on as a pitcher for giving up huge plays on the back end. And can they keep up with Kobe Hamilton and Jarius Wright and Greg?
That's the issue. Well, the issue is Tyler Wilson going to be able to get rid of the football. He's getting drilled, and that front seven for South Carolina's got to be licking their chops. They watch any film, seeing the shots he's taking. They got to think it should be a big deal.
Is there an award in college for like the toughest guy?
Tyler Wilson,
the Rocky Award. I know that guy's
won it against.
All right, well, you got to be dying hearing us give the tough guy award to a quarterback.
No, I'm going to tell you something. To be perfectly frank with you, some of the toughest guys I have ever been around are quarterbacks. And one stands out in particular to me is a Heisman Trophy winner in 1970 by the name of Jim Plunkett. What they did to him when he went from Stanford to New England, ran the option, defies the imagination.
Well, we talk about a tough team at Stanford. I played with Jim Harbaugh, the same thing. No guy's tougher. And I think when you look at Tyler Wilson, he's had to do that behind this offensive line. But I think this defense for South Carolina, they have to win dirty, grimy, ugly, whatever it takes. That's usually how they're winning.
Let's move on. Another big game of the SEC this weekend. Couple of ranked teams. South Carolina taking on Arkansas. Mark, this Arkansas team, one loss to Alabama. Are they a sleeping giant in the SEC?
I don't know if they're sleeping a giant. They were asleep the last 2 weeks. I mean, they fell way behind Ole Miss on the road and then struggled to come back and defeat Vanderbilt in Nashville this past weekend. But I think this is a dangerous game for South Carolina. Connor Shaw has played okay, only had 87 passing yards a week ago through 2 interceptions against Mississippi State, taking it on the road into Fayetteville. I think Arkansas pulls this one out.
It's going to be interesting, though. Tyler Wilson is getting pummeled this season.
Man.
Even against Vanderbilt, he's getting lit up. And you're talking about South Carolina team, 3rd-ranked pass defense in the country. I think it's going to be in Arkansas's favor that they play poorly against Vanderbilt because I think they'll have a strong week of practice and they'll go in motivated against South Carolina.
I mean, at least South Carolina found a running game with freshman Brandon Wiles a week ago. We didn't know how balanced they would be offensively after losing Marcus Lattimore. But, I just think they're too one-dimensional on offense without Steven Garcia. And, guys, I don't know if there's been a more disappointing individual player in the country this year than Alshon Jeffrey. And I know it's not all his fault. They can't get him the ball, but it's obvious he came into the season a little bit out of shape, and he struggled to beat guys deep this year.
Well, I think with Jerry Franklin also, too, you have a young guy, Brandon Wild, who ran pretty wild last week. But this is now a time for those teams to know him, that defense. And Jerry Franklin, the middle linebacker, is going to be keyed on him. They're not going to let him run free. And usually it's good to see how a freshman will come back after he has a big game. Will he come back the same, or will he struggle? Because that usually happens when you have a chance to get game planned against.
I don't think South Carolina can afford for this thing to turn into a track meet because they can't keep pace. I don't think they have enough they don't have enough big playability. You mentioned Alshon Jeffrey being disappointing. They can't get the ball to him. They also don't have any proven commodity opposite of him to draw any attention away from him. You take Marcus Lattimore out of the equation now, and you've really hamstrung Connor Shaw in his development to get better each and every week. There's a lot on his shoulders right now.
I'm disappointed in Ace Sanders. I thought he would be a guy we would see more of. Alshon Jeffrey, we know about, but Ace Sanders has been somewhat of a disappointment in that offense if you want to talk about a guy that could do different things.
They got a couple guys who can catch the ball outside, but to me, that's not the problem. The problem's been that offensive line. That offensive line has been a disappointment. I thought initially, when I went down to watch them in training camp, I thought, they had a chance, There were some things that looked pretty good, and I had them early, and, of course, Lattimore took a lot of things off of that, but without him, they really it's not about really abusing people at the line of scrimmage. It's just about assignment football at times. And sometimes there's just not a lot of assignments going on.
I mean, I remember sitting here about 4 weeks ago talking about Marcus Lattimore, the year he was having statistically, and the big question mark, could he handle the pounding in the SEC, having to carry the load that many times? And sure enough, caught up to him.
I mean, there's a lot to be said for finding ways to win, though.
Yeah.
As bad as they've been on offense the last couple of weeks, they won in Mississippi State and won again last week. I mean, this right here, guys, this is, unfortunately, this is why they call Vanderbilt Vanderbilt.
And that's what happens when you don't know how to win.
Find ways to close. I mean, I think you coaches would know better than I, but convincing kids that they can make plays to finish games and win games when all you've done is lose, lose, lose has got to be the hardest thing in coaching.
Yeah, drinking the Kool-Aid and that culture, when you have teams that just know they're going to win, somehow somebody's going to come up with it. That's why you talk about Arkansas not playing well the last couple weeks. I think that's probably a moniker of a great team that can win even though you don't play well, and it's tough to be lights out every week.
South Carolina, the way they've won the last few weeks, pardon me, Matt Millen, but they've been like the Penn State of the SEC.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Record is good the way they've won. Different story entirely. When Arkansas beat Vandy on Saturday, this was one play in the game that stands out. Vandy signaling for a fair catch. Marcel Wade comes in, just takes out the return man. He was flagged. He was ejected from the game. We've seen this in the NFL, too, where you have to draw a distinction between a guy going full speed, hitting a guy, but you saw the return man signaling for the fair catch. Wade was upset when he was ejected, had to be talked to as he was led off the field. What did you make of the ejection and the hit?
I agreed with it. I mean, I had no problem with the officials taking the action they did in that situation. I thought it was a dirty play. I thought he had plenty of time to pull up off of it. And his reaction after, which had me dumbfounded, what is he possibly arguing there? I mean, you make a play like that, you have to expect it to come down.
Do you think he called for a fair catch, though? See, I don't think he did. I think he was shielding the sun from his eyes, had his hand up there.
But it
doesn't matter, though. Either way.
If he didn't call for a fair catch, he'd clearly.
I think he should have been ejected. I think it was a great call. I can see with the kid, because you're hyped up, you're playing ball. It's violent out there, and he had a misjudgment and his error and all that. But he should have been ejected. But you just got to. I've been on the backside of that now a few times and seen our punt returner just get hammered. You've got to protect those guys. I mean, you're not even talking about injury. You could be talking about the next level. And so I think it was a good call.
No, and then his reaction. I mean, he got up.
That was the issue.
Thumping his chest like he'd done something. He hit a defenseless guy, and then his actions going into the locker room. I mean, his coach had to grab him by the back.
Yeah, but you know what,
Well,
Mark?
he was hyped up.
The fact that he got up doing what he did lets you know that he didn't see anything that we saw.
Yeah.
And so the kid was trying to make a play.
He was hyped
He
up.
thought he was timing it up, don't you think? He thought he was going to time it up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so at one point, Dan, I got to tell you, when I was listening to you, I thought to myself, you never ran down on a punt in your life.
See, I don't think he should have been ejected. Do you think he should have been ejected?
Yeah,
I think he
probably
should have been.
per the rule,
Yeah.
they have to do that. But I understand completely what happened to that kid. I've been in those situations. I understand you're fighting off a guy who, you're trying to work inside, work outside, what sides are return and where are we coming. You're trying to read the blocks, and all of a sudden, I got to tackle the guy. You look up, and there he is, and you go, this is going to be good. Pow! You freaking throw him.
Wade, to Wade's credit, at least he came out this week and apologized, and I thought Bobby Petrino did a good job.
How about a little credit to the Vanderbilt punt returner? Went back in and caught one later. Talk about getting back on the horse. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Vandy still lost that game, a game they very well could have won. Missed a field goal at the end.
Let's talk a little selections here as David and Des join me right now. Let's talk the other game in the SEC. South Carolina at Arkansas. Another top 10 matchup between these two teams. Kind of understated, though, because of the action here.
Weird. There's another SEC game going on.
Games period. I thought everyone was idle this week.
You know what? When I look at Arkansas, they've had 2 sluggish weeks the past 2 weeks, but this offense is high-flying enough. And you look at South Carolina without Marcus Lattimore, without Stephen Garcia. Connor Shaw threw for 84 yards against Tennessee last week. Arkansas has too much firepower. They win the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Arkansas will win this game. I think if South Carolina is going to stay in the game, it's going to be with their defense and special teams. Jadeveon Clowney, he's a beast. Melvin Ingram, he's a monster. Those guys can keep South Carolina in the game, but I agree with you, Arkansas, too much firepower on offense. Arkansas wins this game.
I'm Holly Rowe in Fayetteville, Arkansas. For the first time in SEC history, there are 2 top
top 10 matchups on the same weekend. While everybody's talking about LSU, Alabama, deservedly so, we've got a pretty big one right here with South Carolina and Arkansas, a game that has championship implications. For the Razorbacks, their quarterback Tyler Wilson has been terrific this season. He set a new school record with 176 passes without an interception. But his offensive coordinator Garrick McGee said grading the film from last week's game, he had a handful of footballs that were too dangerous, could have been intercepted, something he'll have to correct this week against South Carolina. The Gamecocks are second in the nation with 16 interceptions. South Carolina's terrific defensive back Antonio Allen sprained his neck Tuesday at practice. While he hasn't practiced the rest of the week, coaches said he did participate in walkthrough on Friday, and they're hopeful he'll still be able to play against the Razorbacks.
Let's move to the SEC, guys. Two top 10 teams not named Alabama and LSU. It's South Carolina and Arkansas. The Gamecocks have overcome suspensions and injuries, their last major hurdle if they're going to win the SEC East. At Arkansas, who do you have, Coach?
I have to go with South Carolina. I know that Arkansas has a tremendous offense, but let's remember this. In the last two games, they were down by 17 to Ole Miss. They did come back and win by 4. They were down by 10 to Vanderbilt. They came back to win by 3, only because Vanderbilt missed a little field goal. 5 times, Arkansas has given up 25 points or more on defense. I think that South Carolina's defense is tremendous. I love Connor Shaw. South Carolina is still in this national championship race, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm picking Arkansas in this game. Are you kidding me? They're playing at home. They've won 8 consecutive games. They're playing against the best offense that they'll face the entire season, the South Carolina defense. And I know they're number 3 nationally in pass defense, but they haven't faced a quarterback like Tyler Wilson, the best passer in the conference. 13 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions, and they're playing at home. I think that's huge. A lot of pressure on South Carolina.
South Carolina's pass defense is number 3 in the country. And let's remember what Alabama did to Arkansas.
It's the Hogs and the Gamecocks homecoming in Fayetteville. 2 top 10 teams just quietly going about their business in the shadow of this hyped game. Arkansas, though, still alive. They need an Alabama loss, and they got a win out, which includes winning at LSU. Could create a potential 3-way tie in the SEC West, which means Arkansas is actually still alive in the BCS conversation. The Gamecocks need to win to keep control of their destiny. In the East, they have the Gators at home next week, but they also need to add to their interception total of 16 to give old Connor Shaw the short field. And even then, it might not be enough because they're terrible inside the 30. Take it back. They need a couple of pick sixes to win this game. Is Carolina's defense overrated? They haven't faced a top 50 offense. And in a funky year, Spurrier's team has allowed the opponent to score first in every single game. They've still won 7 of them by outscoring every opponent in the second half. Here's the HBC with Holly Rowe.
Well, Coach, you know, everybody knows you've lost a quarterback, you lost Marcus Lattimore, but what progress did you see from your offense last week against Tennessee that you can build on?
Well, we didn't score a lot of points last week, but we did have one big drive. We went 98 yards, I guess, and took up over 11 minutes and made a bunch of third downs. So we did some good things at Tennessee, but we haven't scored a lot of points this year. But our defense has played very well, and a lot of games, 2 touchdowns has been good enough to win. And I think we've had about 3 or 4 games like that.
2 touchdowns against a team that can score like Arkansas. How do you see that being a problem?
It may not be good enough. We just got to go play the game, see what happens. Our defense has really played well the last 5-6 games, and we'll see how it plays out. But you know, you always hope to score every time you touch it. It hadn't worked out all that well for us, but I think we're ranked 4th in the conference in offense. So as I tell people, there's some other teams having a lot more problems than we are.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks, Holly.
But he didn't look at the stats.
Turns out we are
ranked 4th in the conference.
And there are some other teams having some problems.
Well, Arkansas had some problems in the first half. The Hogs are a very slow starting team, but like the Gamecocks, a great finishing team. Yeah. Tyler Wilson's got those funky mechanics. Pacino said he's got like 9 different launch points. So they're not consistent. They go 3 and out a lot. But, you know, you look at the stats at the end of the game, and Tyler Wilson's having a pretty good season. How about this game?
Yeah, you know, I think Arkansas will win this game. I think what will keep South Carolina in this game would be their defense. I mean, I spoke to a coach this past week who coaches in the SEC about Alabama and LSU, and I said, what's the 3rd best defense in this conference? And he said, South Carolina, with Jadeveon Clowney And with Melvin Ingram, those guys up front are monsters. And I think their defense will be able to keep them in the game early just because Arkansas starts off very slow. But Arkansas has too much firepower on offense. Arkansas wins this game by at least 10 points.
Really, I think that this offense has been interesting of Arkansas's because you expect them to just dominate, run and throw and do everything that they want, but they've struggled here recently, and now they're going up against this defense from South Carolina. So I think that battle, as much as it's very intriguing, I think it's the other side of the ball with Connor Shaw against the Arkansas defense that gives the Hogs an advantage. This will be a close game, but I think at the end, a lot on the line, I think Arkansas wins. I think their defense continues to give South Carolina's offense some trouble.
If different styles make a good fight or a good game, this would be a great game. South Carolina wins on defense. They've only allowed 7 points a game in 5 SEC games. Arkansas averages 30 points a game in their SEC games. The offense and defense will be a big play by Joe Adams. Joe Adams from Arkansas makes a big play, and they win by a touchdown.
Well, I mean, Tyler Wilson struggled so much downfield. The last 2 games, you realize he's 1 for 13.
Amazing.
Pass attempts longer than 20 yards. They do get Greg Childs back. His knee is okay, but Tenarius Wright, the defensive end, is still out with a broken arm. A 5th straight loss. Wow, that would shake up the Gator Nation as they visit South Carolina next week. Speaking of South Carolina, they're in Arkansas, homecoming in Fayetteville. Almost nobody around the country paying attention to this game, Brian, but it's 2 top 10 teams in the SEC.
It's a weird mascot game. You get the backs versus the cocks. and never bet against the cocks. I'm going with South Carolina.
Oh, man.
I got to.
All right.
Good thing you're wearing pants.
I can't. I mean, Joe Adams. Arkansas by a touchdown.
Keep it together, Kirk. We're almost there.
I am. I will go with Arkansas.
Clean it up.
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Dogs.
Yeah. Hogs. Okay.
Over the Gamecocks.
Yes.
There he is, number 33. Keontae Minor is there with him. So 2 teams that have only 1 loss each. And thinking big things still in the SEC race underway in Fayetteville. Section leader here in Fayetteville, and Jerry Franklin. If it wasn't for Jerry Franklin, they wouldn't be 7-1. He got a 94-yard kickoff, fumble return, I should say, for a touchdown that saved the day in Nashville last week. And here is Johnson, straight up the middle for 9 to open things up. 3rd down and 8. Wilson, here comes the pressure. Got rid of it, and he found his open man. It's going to be a 1st down throw, and Gregg is still heading in the Gamecocks' direction. 23 yards. That time the pressure was there, but Wilson stepped up in the pocket and delivered a wobbly pass to his tight end.
What you want to see your quarterback do is feel pressure, but keep his eyes downfield. He knows there's pressure, and he doesn't take his eyes off the field. He finds Gregg in the middle of the field.
Play action. Wilson might want it all here. Good job in the secondary by South Carolina, and he's just got to throw it, and he completed it anyway inside the 10 to Hamilton, and a flag down at the end of the play. Hocker to try to put the Hogs on the board. Kick on the way, and he's got it. So the opening drive, South Carolina works from its own 20-yard line. And the freshman tailback who had a big game last week wasn't getting much on that one. Defensive coordinator, and he said, we're just going to line him up and tell him to go tonight, put some more heat on the quarterback. And here it comes. Connor Shaw's got to get rid of it because of Jake Beckett coming from the defensive end spot and putting the pressure on. Wilson, play action, rolling. Got a block and throws on a run and got it to Adams. 1st down. Out of bounds at the 35.
Well, we've already seen what Bobby Petrino's counterpunch to this pressure that South Carolina likes to bring with their defensive line. They're moving the quarterback.
Here is his quarterback, Shaw. Flushed. And he'll keep it and gets collared. Wilds to the top of your screen and the tight end on a slot. Here comes the blitz. Shaw with a flag down will be dropped by Jericho Nelson, the guy that came off the corner. Let's take a look at our Taste of the Town this week, brought to you by Expedia with Mr. Blackledge.
Muneera Mohammadine grew up on a farm in Emmett, Arkansas as one of 12 children. Now, in addition to working the farm, she also learned the secrets of cooking and barbecue working on the weekends at her father's juke joint. Cooking's always been a passion, and a day after her 56th birthday, Muneera and her son Terry opened a restaurant in Fayetteville and called it Mohammadine's Soul Food. Now, they go through over 200 pounds of chicken a week here, and I went with the twice-cooked chicken. The chicken is hand-rubbed with their own seasonings and then smoked on a grill for 35 to 40 minutes before deep fried. Sides I chose macaroni and cheese and some purple whole peas. And you know what they always say? Mama does know best. Yes, she does.
Kick is going to go to Johnson at the 2-yard line. Dennis Johnson, one of the best in the country. Here he goes, and there he goes. Dennis Johnson, foot race. He'll win it. Touchdown, Arkansas.
Well, this is beautiful execution. These three guys right here are all three going to lead the way with excellent blocks. Number 15 is Keontae Minor, the guy who's in there for the suspended Marquell Wade, and he gets the last block. Dennis Johnson's got great speed. Nobody even laid a hand on him on that kickoff return. Outstanding execution by the Arkansas special teams.
He had over 1,000 yards of kickoff return yardage a couple of seasons ago. And once you saw him hit that seam and get that one block for Minor, it was all over. And in this case in the SEC this week. And a nice open field tackle by Jericho Nelson after just 1-yard pickup. Defense right now. 3rd and 10. Shaw's in trouble. Beckett has a hold of him. He got rid of the football incomplete, and they'll have to punt it away. Beckett came with some heat. He had some help from his friends back there. He's had a good first quarter.
Well, Beckett missed a few games with a hamstring injury, but it's not bothering him anymore. But he sure is bothering Cody Gibson.
And here's straight up the middle Johnson for a first down. And then some. Wow. And at the end of the play, a head-on collision with Holloman, and Dennis won it.
One of the best ways to offset a good pass rushing team, a team that likes to get up the field, is to run draws. You release your tight end down there on him. A nice job by Chris Gregg, number 80, getting a lead block.
Wilson, straight drop this time. Again, he's got to roll a little bit to throw, and he gets it out to Kobe Hamilton when he threw the pass. So give number 12 a lot of credit as well. And helping Devin Taylor take that for a touchdown. Wilson reloads and goes long. Man there, got him. Jarius Wright, and he's gone. Wright, touchdown. This one could get crazy before it's over tonight.
I love that, though. I love Bobby Petrino, as mad as he was at Tyler Wilson for making the bonehead mistake. He comes right back and calls his number to make a big play throwing it down the field. I love that in a coach, and I love it in the quarterback.
First long play allowed by South Carolina of 40 or more yards all year. That one, 68 yards for the touchdown on the extra point. 10 on 3rd and 8. Now he gives off to Wilds. Only about 2 tough yards again for number 22. Blitz on the way for Connor Shaw. Throws deep on the sideline on the run, and it's almost intercepted by Isaac Madison. Scruggs was the intended receiver. It was 2nd down and 6. Again, it's Johnson. Got a blocker in front. He's got the first down and more. Stiff arms his way. South Carolina gets everybody up close here. As Wilson throws out in the flat to Johnson. He's got the first down the sideline. He's got more than that. And so it was worth those timeouts. A 17-yard pass play out to Dennis Johnson, our impact player so far the night.
Over the left guard.
Wilson to the end zone. Touchdown, Jarius Wright. Right on the money. And Wilson throws a second strike to number 4 on the evening.
Victor Hampton was the guy in coverage, and
Connor Shaw all by his lonesome. Here comes Beckett again, and he's got it.
Well, they replaced Cody Gibson with A.J. Cann, number 50. But it didn't seem to matter for Jake Beckett. He still beat him on the outside with a speed rush and got to the quarterback.
Johnson, first down. It was. Let's see how he does here. Pressure coming. He got rid of it. This time he's got a crossing pattern to Johnson, and he's got a first down. Dennis Johnson down near the 12.
Here, and Alshon's down here by himself, isolated.
First offensive snap of the third quarter after the 55-yard kickoff return. It's Wilds, and Trey Flowers wasn't wild about that play. Nice job by the freshman, a loss of 3 on the tackle.
Yeah, you try to get him out of position with your formation, and Trey.
Blitz is coming. The fade to the corner. Alshon Jeffrey was the intended receiver.
He slipped. You know, it was underthrown intentionally, but Alshon Jeffrey lost his footing, and therefore he wasn't able to go up high to catch the football. I mean, this is a good idea to throw a jump ball for him in the end zone and let him go up, but Alshon. Arkansas loves the crossing routes. If they anticipate man coverage, third down and medium like this play is.
Deep sideline, caught by Adams to the 20. Joe Adams and Wilson hook up this time for 39 yards.
Well, Swearinger was in.
Arkansas right back to the red zone again, and now it's Johnson time. Puts his head down and takes everybody with him, almost 10 more yards. This one should be a chip shot for Zach Hocker. And it is. So Arkansas answers, looking for 7, and they have to settle for 3. 7:47 remaining. Gives it off on the end around to Bird. Whoa, there's a collision. Tremaine Thomas says hello to Damiere Byrd.
It's a nice play by Tremaine Thomas.
Talking about Arkansas. And now the ball is out. And this time Arkansas's got it. Bad exchange this time.
You're right. I don't know if Connor Shaw opened up to try to make this handoff late. Just take it yourself and run it back up where the play was designed. They never got a clean exchange. And Jerry Franklin was there to make sure the ball was coming out.
Mr. Dependable in his 46th start. A 9-point cushion in a 2-possession game, and he does. Field goal's good. So they turn Jerry Franklin's fumble recovery into 3 points. He will throw for the first down and completes it. Wow. Didn't get much, but Ace Sanders. And his kick is going to go to Johnson at the 5. Dennis Johnson, he gets to the corner. He might have another big one. Johnson across the 30, out to the 36. He was one guy away from getting around that left corner and taking this one 95 yards. Down the middle, got it complete to the tight end, Chris Gregg. A couple of field goals and missed a field goal. They don't want to miss an opportunity here on 2nd and goal. Wingo is in. Touchdown, Arkansas. This is a worse starting field position for South Carolina at their own 16-yard line. Quick throw, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Alonzo Highsmith.
Well, they showed blitz, and Alonzo Highsmith is going to show blitz and then drop out and read the screen and pick the ball off. They were trying to get it to Alshon Jeffrey on the crossing route.
It's getting tougher on every snap for the Gamecocks. Here comes Beckett. Down goes Shaw. The ball is out. Arkansas's got it at the 1-foot line. Jake Beckett again. He's been a thorn in Connor Shaw's backside all night. And Connor Shaw is still on his backside after that hit.
Well, there was a tight end on that side, and Beckett got a good jump, and A.J. Cann was slow coming out of his stance because of the tight end being there and didn't get a good push on him at all. Beckett coming from the blind side, perfectly timed hit.
Beckett's had as good a game as any defensive end we've probably seen this year.
Score again, you're going to have to score 3 times.
Second down, inches to go. It will be a tailback. Broderick Green bulls his way in what should be the capper for the Razorbacks. Theoretically, it's a 2-possession game, but that would have to take into account a couple of South Carolina touchdowns and two-point conversions, and in a hurry. And Hampton lost the ball, and that'll just about cap it. Hocker, the kicker, has got it. And while you say, well, who's going to put any points on the board against LSU, at least this Arkansas team has got the weapons to try. And here goes Broderick Green to the 2. Fayetteville, Arkansas, where the Hogs win it 44-28 over South Carolina.